Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Karaleise. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to my channel, welcome to the place where you'll find all the information you need to launch your business analyst career. So, this is where I help you to think better so that you can work better and produce higher quality deliverables. So, I'm so happy that you're here. We're going to be talking today about something I've been excited about. I have not done any videos on this yet through all the videos I've done on my channel. And this is something I really want to talk about. And that is product roadmaps. Yes, we're going to talk about product roadmaps today. What are the roadmaps? Why do we use them? Who uses them? And what are the different types of roadmaps? And I'm going to get into the details with y'all and show you some examples of product roadmaps. So stick with me to the end. It's going to be great. Guys, I want to remind you of the analyst kit. This is a kit that has all the documents that you need as a business analyst. It's done by the Business Analyst Job Description blog. I partnered up with them. Guys, if you haven't checked this out yet, I'm going to put a link in the bottom of this video. It's all these documents that you can use to get started in your career. So user stories, BRDs, other kinds of project documents all ready to go. So check out the link below. Get this analyst kit and you can get a 20% discount if you use the code KARA. Help yourself to get things done faster, right? Don't reinvent the wheel. We'll tell you the best way to get these deliverables done. We have the template. Go get it. Let's talk about these roadmaps. So, roadmaps. Now, what is a product roadmap? I'm sure if you're working with product teams, you hear a lot about the roadmap. What's on the roadmap? What's on the roadmap? The roadmap says this, roadmap says that, right? We are driven by our roadmaps. So, who's creating these roadmaps and how do we get them? Well, typically, your product manager creates the roadmap. But in some organizations, you may not have a product manager, you may have a project manager. Sometimes they do create roadmaps. But the problem is that projects typically have a start and an end date, and products is managing the lifetime of the product. So you tend to be a product manager or even a product owner that is coming up with a roadmap as to where is this product going? What are the features that we're going to be having in this product? How are we going to evolve the product to make it stay relevant? How are we going to keep up with the competitors? All of that stuff is detailed for you in the product roadmap. Now, as a business analyst, you interface with the roadmap by knowing what the features are that's coming down the pipeline and starting to work through all of those features to get to your detailed requirements to write your user stories and your BRD. So typically, this is the big picture of what we want to do. And then they'll take different features off of the roadmap and probably assign it to you as a BA, and you go do all the elicitation and get all the details to get it implemented, right? If you're working in a functional BA role. So the roadmap is very important. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So a product roadmap, they have a lot of characteristics, right? So they should be a statement of intent. This is what you intend to build. It doesn't mean it's set in stone. It's just your intent, right? It's also a communication tool. So it helps you to communicate to your stakeholders, to your other team members, to your other departments to say, hey, this is what you're communicating. Product roadmaps are a shared source of truth that outlines the vision, direction, priorities, and progress of a product over time. Product roadmaps illustrate high-level product strategies. That's what the roadmap is about. Now, the wrong approach to product roadmap is if you make a roadmap and you think that you can set it and forget it. That's not good. That's not what a product roadmap should be, right? The next thing is if people use the product roadmap as a Gantt chart, right? This is a very project related way of viewing the world where you're looking at a Gantt chart and these are all of your work breakdown structure and this is what you're going to do. And it's almost like it's set in stone, not a good approach for product roadmaps. They should be used not like a Gantt chart is used at all. And then when the product roadmap is created in silo, where somebody goes off in their own little world and comes up with all the things that we need to have and puts it on the roadmap, and that's your roadmap. No, these are completely wrong ways to approach your roadmap. All right, don't be doing this. Here are the right ways that you should approach your roadmap. So, the roadmap are visual communication tools. So, this shouldn't be just a long list of things that you want to do. It really should be as visual as you can. And there are many tools to help you make it visual. I'll go into those tools at the end of this video. But you really want to communicate something visually so people can see where you are. It also needs to bring stakeholder alignment. So you should be doing this together with your stakeholders. You should have your customers give you input on the roadmap. You should have other team members who are reliant on the output of the team to tell you what's really needed. You should be really as close to the customer expectation as possible. There should be lots of stakeholder alignment, sometimes even vendor alignment, right? The product roadmaps are adaptable and focus on the short term mostly. Now, I'll talk about long term in a minute, but typically you want it to be short term because you want to adapt to change. Now, here are some pain points that cause you to need a product roadmap. So, managing team and stakeholder expectations is hard. This is a fact. It's very difficult to manage. I've been a product manager myself and I understand this pain. And as a senior business analyst, I work a lot with product managers and product owners, and I know what they go through. So I really have a very, very good understanding of this challenge. So, in order to solve this pain, you need to be able to hold regular product road mapping sessions to decide on initiatives because you have so many things competing for the few resources you have that you have to make decisions, right, as to what makes it to the roadmap and what doesn't. So you really want to get input. Do not go off in silo and do this on your own because you're going to miss things. If you're a product manager, you have to rally the team. If you're a BA who's been asked to do the roadmap, you have to involve the team. Now, get justifications for your product ideas. So sometimes when we think about all that we could do in the universe, there's some great ideas and we're like, it'll be so cool if we could add this and we could do that and we could, these wonderful ideas come up, right? And you don't have to be constrained by what the technology can do right now. When you're coming up with your roadmap, you shouldn't have to kind of worry all about the technology. This is not a refinement exercise. It is just idea, right? But you need justification. There has to be a customer at the end of it that wants it. You can't just build things because you like the idea. You need to confirm that there is a customer who wants to use this. And so that justifies it, right? Only include initiatives that the team is confident about. So, because you're going to involve your team, everybody will have a vote, and that will help you make sure that you're doing something that the team has agreed is a good idea to do. The next pain point is that the roadmap is a static document that never changes. This is a great pain because sometimes, especially if you're coming out of a project paradigm or project management office, project managers, they have this very static way of thinking, right? You guys, I've always commented about how project managers, their way of working is, in my opinion, fast becoming obsolete. They're not very agile, okay? They like to have lots of change management, lots of things documented in stone. They're not willing to change. I'm yet to work with a project manager who is very agile and very willing to change and, do what works. It's like, okay, this is the change management process. It has to go up the line and come back down the line. And this is how we're working and we can't change anything. And this is how we're going to do it. We have agreed to this scope and it's all very, very, very static. But with a product roadmap, it has to be fluid. It has to be changeable, right? You should be articulating that the roadmap is a statement of intent so that you can change, so that you can pivot, so that you can adapt to your environment. Okay. So it's not a project management mindset. It is a product. So you're looking at the lifetime of the product, and this is a roadmap we're following to get to the ends that we want to get. This is our intention. but we are free to change that intention, right? All we got to do is update everybody. Hey, we're no longer going to be releasing this Q3. It'll come out in Q4. Now go and do whatever changes you have to do. Go and talk to whichever customer to advise them. But you shouldn't be held. I mean, you don't want to keep changing. I get that because people are depending on what you output. But you can't be held, with like a knife at your throat because you gave a date and you have to stick with it, right? We'll talk more about that in a minute in this video. Guys, are you liking the presentation so far? Well, I have something to announce to you right now. I have a sale going on my courses. Yes, there's a sale going on my BA Training Hub. You can get up to 50% off the courses. That means that you can get half price and get the good knowledge that you need to start your career. All right. All of it is very practical. I give you real world examples. I walk you through all the documents you need to produce, the why you need them, and then there's a great Q&A session at the end where the people who are in the course, they ask some really, really good questions. And those might be the questions that you have as well, so you can hear the answers to that. So it's very, very interactive, very, very lively. I don't do boring. I do not do boring, okay? I keep you attentive. All right, so go check out those courses. So get it at 50% off from my website using the code BA Boss. BA Boss. All right, so go check that out. All right, so here's the other pain point that gives rise to having a roadmap. So the roadmap is disconnected from any real user problems. This can happen. This is a fact, guys. So what happens is that because we work with project teams and developers and QA and all of these people who are not necessarily always in the world of the user. So there's a chance that you could become disconnected from the actual users. And so you come up with features that you think are cool, but the users don't care about. Okay? You could be doing things they don't want. So you have to make your roadmap customer friendly. Involve the customers. In one of my jobs, we used to have a user, it's almost like a user board. We call it client advisory board, where we meet with our clients and we tell them what we're planning to do, and they give us feedback if they think this is a good idea for them or not. So we had people who are like admin, we had people who are general users, and it was a great way to keep in contact with our customers. It was a great way to make sure that we don't go off and build the wrong thing, right? So show the roadmap to the customers, let them see what you're planning, let them give you feedback. And make sure each roadmap item solves a real user's problem, not something you imagine, not something you think they will have a problem with, but something they actually have a problem with. That way, you're always providing value that's useful to your end users. So let's look at some roadmap types, right? So there are three main types, which is a theme-based product roadmap, or I call it like bucket, like you bucket some ideas together and that's how you build your roadmap. You could have a product roadmap. You could have hybrid product roadmap. So let's look at theme-based roadmap. So in this example, we group the features by buckets, like they all just fall into a bucket. And we're not really focused on dates as much. It's just like, this is what we're planning to do. This is our intent of the kinds of features that we want to provide. So we're not as focused on, you could have dates on there, but you're not as focused on the dates as much. So here's an example. So in this case, we have 5 buckets. So we've got infrastructure, and this is across our different environments. So for web, we're doing metrics and automated testing. For mobile, we're doing demo staging, regression, backend analytics. And then for the design, we got some design processes that we want to do. So that's our infrastructure bucket. Maybe we need to close out some technical debt, and this is how we're doing that, right? And then our improvements bucket, which is how we, make what we already have better. Now we have dialogue styling under the web app. We've got import engine. We've got update navigation. And then under the mobile app, we have performance overhaul. And under the UX design, we have multiple environments, right? So that's just saying, okay, we want to improve our infrastructure, close out our technical debt. We want to improve what we already have, but we also want to be innovative. We want to add new things. So we have a bucket for new features, and these are new things that we're going to be building, right? Then you have another section called stickiness. And under stickiness, you typically, when we say stickiness, we mean what would keep the users still interested in our product? What would keep them coming back for more? What would help them to just love your product so much that they have to keep using it? So for example, think about TikTok, right? Think about social media. So the way that TikTok achieves stickiness is that they make the videos so short that as you're able to consume all of it in a very short time, and you can just keep scrolling easily through, right? So they enforce the feature to make sure that the video is not over a certain length and that you're easy to move to the next one. That's how they achieve stickiness. So other organizations can do some things that are similar. For example, Gmail is pretty sticky because you can sign in from different places with a Gmail very easily. So you just keep using your Gmail everywhere, right? So it's just what can you do to keep your customers coming back? And then we have integration. So, okay, maybe this is its own bucket, not something a part of the new features. Integrations, okay, we want to extend what we already offer and make sure we can connect to these other tools out there that's popular, like Marketo, like Salesforce, like Slack, like Trello, like Jira, like Zendesk, and there could be many more, right? So this roadmap, again, it's like these features are bucketed. And so if you want to look under, okay, what are all the improvements we have in our purview right now that we're thinking about doing? Here are all the improvements. Here are all the new features. Here are all the stickiness that we're trying to accomplish. Here are all the integrations that we have. And so it doesn't have a time, but it's expected that this is a short term. This isn't over many, many years. This is like maybe a couple months, or the maximum probably a year, 18 months the most probably. So you can explain that when you're walking through your roadmap, but this is not explicitly said on the roadmap itself. The next type of roadmap is a timeline roadmap. So this one is very focused on time, as the name suggests, right? So you have, dates are there, and it's typically a kind of a longer term vision for what you're trying to build in the product. So here's an example, right? So it looks a lot like a timeline because that's the type of roadmap it is. So you have these milestones at the top, and you could have different variations of how this looks, but in typically this looks something like this, where you have these buckets over here. So what are all the categories that you're trying to accomplish work in, and then you have the timeline at the top. So this one's pretty granular. It starts with January, February, March, April, all the months, but you could also have Q1, Q2, Q3, and you could go over a year and a half or more with that. And then you put in the timelines as, okay, this feature is going to start maybe January, I don't know, maybe 20th. It's going to end probably the third week of March. So you have this very clear picture of how long it's going to take. And of course, the longer the bar is, the more time it takes, the more months it goes through. Again, roadmaps don't talk about complexity. Just want to clarify that this is nothing to do with how much you can actually develop this. This has nothing to do with the technical complexity. It's just that we anticipate that we'll need several sprints, for example, to get this done. It doesn't mean it's exact. Maybe when they're coming up with the roadmap, that you may have had a conversation with the technical team to just get some idea of how large this is and how many sprints it might take. Or sometimes you just throw it into an area, like you say, okay, Q4 will focus on this, Q3 will focus on that, Q1 will focus on that. Typically, people don't spend lots of time refining these things and having dev, like go through in detail exactly what they can do. They don't do a lot of that. Doesn't say you don't do any, just that you don't normally go through a lot of refinement. You'll do that when you get to it, right? So if you know that you've planned two-factor authentication, for example, in January, let's say this was 2023, right? Then come December, you might start having the conversation to see, what can we do? And then in January, you may have done your refinement so you could actually start working on it, right? So knowing the roadmap helps you to prep for what's coming and know what's the next thing you should be working on. And while you're doing that refinement, they may uncover things that you're like, oh, this is going to take more time, it's going to be less time, or maybe there's a plugin we can use or something, right? So this is why the roadmap is a statement of intent. It could happen, it could take longer or shorter, and they're not too concerned when they're building it to be accurate in terms of the time. It's just an estimate. Here's what we estimate it's going to take. And here, the most important thing that people look at a roadmap for is to know what are we going to do, as opposed to how long is it going to take. Yes, people want to know how long because people are wired for time. But when you show them something like this, they just have a ballpark and they can feel like, okay, it's coming, roughly 3 months from now, we should have something. And, that's usually enough for them, as opposed to saying it'll be here exactly the third week of March. If you're doing that with your roadmaps, you're going to be in a lot of trouble because when that date changes, you're going to have to explain yourself, and it's not what the roadmap is intended to do. All right. All right. So we also have a hybrid roadmap. What's a hybrid roadmap? Well, it's just fuzzy time, still long term vision, but we don't get as specific as we were. So, as we said, this timeline has has dates that you can, definitely pinpoint. But the hybrid is where it's like the bucketed, instead of having January, February, March, you just have Q1, right? Or Q2, Q3, and we can move things around in Q3. So nobody can, once you deliver it within that 3 months, nobody really can say you didn't meet your timeline, right? Okay. So let's jump into the actual tools and let's look at how these tools help you do roadmaps. All right, so here I am. I'm in a tool called Product Board. I really like this tool called Product Board. We've used it at our company, in many different ways. It's integrated to Jira. You can create your roadmap items here and then make those become epics in Jira. It's pretty easy, and you can pull things in from Jira into the roadmap as well. It's all two directional and super cool. So this is an example of what I was explaining before, of that kind of fuzzy time hybrid style roadmap. So here we have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and here are all the things that we think we can get done within those quarters. And this one lets you add details to it. Let's say you wanted to put some description as to what you're trying to accomplish. There's some progress bar going on. I haven't filled out any of this, by the way, guys. It's just just for this video. All right. You can see some insights as to where did this come from. You could, add let's say one of your team members requested it. You could add that comment and they could come in here and add, their requests. And that's where the insights are, to make sure that you're putting things on the roadmap that are coming from actual users, right? The users are requesting it. So you're not just building things because you can build things. So yeah, so this is a pretty good tool. It's, I like how they coordinate it. It's easy to see. You can see it in this format, which is a roadmap view, but you could also go to a features view and you can just see the list of features, and you can add details to break them up into bigger buckets. Let's say I could have called one bucket, let's say e-commerce, another bucket, user profile, but I didn't go through all of that. Just have one big bucket, but it does allow you to do that, and it has great views, so you can see it in different ways. So really liking this tool for creating roadmaps, and it's something I've used in the enterprise level. So I'm pretty confident with it. I like it a lot. So that's it. Product roadmap. They're not paying me for this, by the way, guys. I'm just sharing with you in case you ever want to use a tool. This is a tool I like. So yeah. So here's another tool I like. This one is called AHA, right? They have lots of features and different things, but I'm using the roadmap part of it. So this is an example of those bucketed themed roadmaps we talked about earlier. So I have this bucket called community site, then holiday blackout, then iOS mobile app launch, then web store, Android mobile app launch, etc. Right? And I can add all of these different features that I want for these different buckets. And the colors mean something. It means if green, it's already shipped. Blue, it's under consideration. We haven't decided on it yet. Yellow, it's in design phase. So I like how AHA lets you, really get granular with these things. So I click on it. I can go in here. I can change this to, I don't know, ready to ship. Let's say it's already implemented. The progress bar could be entered manually. Don't want to do that right now, though. You can give it the release number. There's just a lot of cool things you can add there. Requirements. You can add requirements. You can comment with your team, to do's, related, link things to it. So yeah, it's a pretty good way to keep everything together for this one feature, and be able to see it in this nice roadmap view right here. So I really like this view. It's very cool. So yeah, I like this board view a lot, and it's help to show the theme that I was talking about before. You can add releases and some strategies, some ideas. It's pretty cool. And of course, you can drag things over, you can change, you can adapt. It's very agile, So that's the example I wanted to share with you. All right, gang. So this is what I had to share with you today about product roadmaps. I am so excited about product roadmaps. I think they're a great tool to help you as a BA to know what to work on now, what to work on next, for you to have great communication with your customers, to tell them when things are going to be ready or what things are in our sight or what we're thinking of doing or intentions for the next couple months, for you to have good communication with your product manager, your product owner. Just a great tool overall to use. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please, 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 please click that like button, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, all right? And please go check out my website, Karaleise.com, and go enroll in one of those courses to increase your knowledge in the BA space. Get that discount at 50% off using the code BA Boss. And if you need documentation, do not reinvent the wheel. Look below and click on the link below to get the analyst kit where you can get 20% off by using the code Kara. All right, guys, I'm looking out for you, right? I want you to excel in your career. All right, come over here and get this money. All right, and do this job and be happy. Be happy, make your money and be happy. All right, guys, so we'll talk next time. Take care. Bye bye.